We're back in my favorite store here in the UAE, ready for Overland Q&A, and we're going to kick it off with two awesome questions, one from Instagram and actually one was a discussion around a campfire a couple of nights ago. So we're going to be discussing tires and we're going to be discussing how to pack for a long trip. So going out for 5, 10, 15 days, what do you pack? What do you keep behind? And how do you ensure that you have everything there? So let's get into those questions right now. Oh yes, and don't forget our SpeedX tip of the week. So let's get into it straight away. So on Instagram we received this question from Hashim in, got to get the code in, there we go. Hashim from Saudi Arabia. So Hashim's asking, could you explain the difference between the Km3s and the K02s? Hashim explains over here that he's from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and he goes into the desert very often and wants to know the comparison between these two tires. Now, before you get out there and you desert dwellers and desert rats come out and say, well, these are hard sidewall tires, they're no good for the desert. Well, there's an argument altogether with regards to soft sidewall and hard sidewall, but the question is purely regarding the K02 all-terrain tire and the new mud-terrain tire from BF Goodrich. So Hashim, right, very easy. The Km3 is a dedicated off-road tire. This is basically, I would go as far as saying that 80% of your driving within Km3 would be off-road. The tire is noisy on-road. It's not as noisy as other mud-terrain tires, but it is noisy. The compound of the Km3 is a lot softer than other mud-terrain tires that I've utilized, and even comparing to the Km2, which is the previous generation of the mud-terrain tire that we used for 7,000 kilometers touring through Africa, the compound is much softer, so the ride is a lot softer. However, on the tar road, if you're going to be driving every single day, the noise might drive you mad. Now, once again, in my 76 Cruiser, it doesn't matter what tires I stick on there, it's noisy. If you're in a Defender or a Jeep Wrangler, the older generation Jeep Wranglers, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. We don't really... You got to jam the music so loud to actually deafen out the rattles and the bumps and the bruises and everything of these Overland dedicated off-road vehicles. If you were in a vehicle, let's say a GMC Sierra or a F-150 or a Land Cruiser 200 series, the mud-terrain tires might drive you insane. Now, the K02s, all-terrain tires, this is getting closer to a 50-50 ratio. Now, the K02s are much better on the road as far as being quiet. They're going to last you up to 70,000 kilometers, and I've heard of people going further than that. I did a review not too long ago, and you can look it up in the description, on the K02 versus the KO tire. Now that is the previous generation. We did 35,000 kilometers on both the tires, and you can see the significant difference between what BFG has done in the past and what BF Goodrich is doing today. I was very, very happy with those tires. We probably would have got close to 80,000 Ks out of those tires, and we were spending a good 80 to 90% off-road with those tires, and the abuse was minimal. Now, the Km3s, are they better in the sand than the K02? So I'm going to give you my subjective view. First of all, you're going to be saying, well, the sidewalls are harder than the K02, the all-terrain tire. Yes, they are. However, I have got further up the dunes with the Km3s than I have got with the K02s. I don't know why. The lugs that are digging into the sand are not supposed to be helping. A desert tire is generally a smooth tire, but I've got to go back to the time that I spent off-roading on two wheels in the desert doing enduros, and when we were in incredibly sandy patches like Liwa or Wahiba Sands in Oman, we used paddle tires. Now I think with the diesel that I have and the amount of torque that I have, that additional paddle grip that I'm getting out of these mud-terrain tires is getting me a lot further up the dunes. Let's not even talk about the rocky environment, because that's not the question, but on the rocks, the slippery rocks in the waddies when it gets a bit wet, I tell you what, these tires are insane off-road. So I can't give you a definitive answer on which is the better tire for yourself, But if you're going to be spending 80% off-road and you're going to be in the desert, I'll tell you what, the Km3 is a phenomenal tire. It's going to take a lot for you to get it off the bead because the sidewall is so strong. So you can really deflate it a lot more than a softer, let's say, Dunlop tire, where you'd probably be pulling it off the bead or pulling it off the rim a lot easier than the strong tire. So deflating it down below 10 psi and getting through those grippy situations where you're in a bowl and really soft sand, these tires are phenomenal for that. Now, the K02s are great. I would say 10% less performance in the desert than the Km3. Hashim, thank you so much for the question, mate. I hope that that gives you some sort of an idea of what you need to look at. Again, if you've got a dedicated off-road vehicle, stick the Km3s on. Man, and they look fantastic. Well, then again, if you're going just for looks and you don't worry about the on-road performance of the Km3, stick them on, mate. Stick them on. Thanks for the question. Keep them coming, Hashim. Before I get on to the next question with regards to camping and all of that, I'm going to go and let's roll the intro for the SpeedX tip of the week. This week's SpeedX tip of the week is with regards to nuts and bolts. Now, we live in an environment where we've got a lot of rust in the air, living so close to the ocean, and we spend a lot of time on dirt roads. So we've got to be able to combat the elements. Now, first of all, the rust in the air. Any exposed bolt will get rust on, or any kind of corrosion on the thread. It doesn't matter what bolt you use, it will eventually get some corrosion on. And when you're trying to loosen that nut off the bolt and you apply too much pressure, you can end up breaking the bolt, which will then cause a lot of issues for yourself. This product over here, copper slip, and I can't find it anywhere else but for SpeedX. So SpeedX, there's a great plug for you on this one, but copper slip available over here. I've been looking all over the place for it. You apply this onto the thread of any exposed bolt. So your wheel nuts, your spare wheel carrier, anything that any exposed nut on your vehicle or any exposed bolt on your vehicle, you apply it to the thread, fasten the bolt, and you'll be insured in 3, 4, 5 years time from now when you're trying to loosen that nut that it will come off smoothly. It will stop the corrosion on that and you won't have to apply that much pressure to get it off and run the risk of breaking a bolt. The next product I use to make sure that I secure the nut onto the bolt, especially on those accessories, on your roof rack or any expensive accessories that you're putting on the side of your vehicle, going through the corrugation, up and down the dunes, in the rocky terrain, and you don't want to lose that expensive accessory, I use thread locker. Now you get this in a red or a blue, they're available in most stores. SpeedX has a more expensive one, but very, very good, called Lock. You apply this onto the thread where you put it just before you put the bolt on, put it in there and it acts like a glue and it just basically holds it there. When you undo it, you just break the seal and then it comes off nice and smoothly. And especially if you have copper slip on the rest of the thread, you won't have to worry about the rust. So there we go. We're securing your accessories and we're making sure that you can remove them without breaking those bolts in those hard to reach places. Hope you enjoyed the tip of the week. Catch you next week. What an awesome tip that was. I tell you, I'm busy rebuilding the truck right now. We've been spending almost 2 weeks rebuilding the truck, complete rebuild, and I wish I had picked up that tip myself and I would have probably saved myself a whole lot of money and a whole lot of effort trying to undo the nuts and bolts in the exposed environment, and especially the desert over here, full of salt, and as soon as there's a bit of rain, it's just chuck salt and everything rusts. But hope you enjoyed that tip. Let's get on to the last question of the day. We were sitting at a mate of mine's place. Rob has just bought a brand new Conqueror Comfort and it arrived in Dubai a couple of days ago and we're busy preparing for quite a long trip going down to Oman. Now, being new, not new to camping, but new to a long overland trip and staying out for 10, 12 days, and also a brand new trailer where he used to take everything and dump it into his car and basically try and go minimalistic as possible because there's not much space. He now has this massive trailer and needs to kit it out and make sure that he's got everything with him. So he posed the question, what do I take? How do I begin to start the packing process? What do I need? What don't I need? Now, there are 3 different ways. Let's wait for this. So what to pack, what not to pack. So there are a couple of different ways to do it. So you either pack what you think is right, get out there while you're camping, take a notebook, and I do this a lot. Jot down everything that I need. If I need double-sided tape, or I need a staple gun, or I need whatever it may be, it's things that you forget, or I need 2 bottle openers because the one's broken, or whatever the case may be. You jot it down, and when you get back, you add that to your list. But in this case, Rob doesn't have a list, so he's starting from scratch. Now, if you go onto our website, expeditionextreme.com, and you go to the routes and the downloads section, there is a comprehensive camping list on what to pack. Now, this list has got everything, as in everything you need, from camera gear all the way to gas bottles, you name it. Get onto that, and whatever you need or don't utilize, so if you're not filming or anything like that, you just scratch the camera section out. But I believe that that list has everything that you need except for the vehicle specific items. So vehicle specific items, I'm going to use trailers, for example. If you're going through rough terrain, you might want to take additional suspension with you, additional shock absorbers and those things for spare parts, or an additional tow hitch, or whatever the case may be. That's vehicle specific. You need to add that to your vehicle specific on the list. But as far as camping is concerned, that will cover the entire necessity for you there. So not a direct question, but Rob, I've sent you the list, mate, but anybody else there, expeditionextreme.com, routes and downloads, download the packing list over there. That's it for the show. We'll catch you next week, and remember, if it's dusty, drive it.